Hey, this is Ben, the technical artist at Boltz Entertainment, working on the game Write Warz. This is a devlog for Sigrun's new ability, the Shield of Aegis. First off, what is Write Warz? Write Warz is a multiplayer storytelling party game. Write a line, vote for the winner, and build a story across bold themes, minigames, bonus words, and character abilities. Think of it as a souped up version of a Jackbox party game. So what are character abilities in Write Warz? During every round, one player's character ability will be activated at random. Each character ability will dynamically change how the round will be played, creating a minigame in that round for every player. Character abilities were added to Write Warz to add a unique stage to the writing phase, and this change to character ability minigames, we feel, offers more of a party atmosphere to the game. With that in mind, during Sigrun's new character ability, backspace, delete, and spell check are disabled for everyone. A single rotating shield lets one player at a time delete one whole word. Once that word is deleted, it passes on to the next player. Like a game of hot potato, Sigrun's shield bounces between players, letting each delete a word at a time. A couple things are needed for this effect. First, a mesh for Sigrun's shield. Second, an effect to move the shield whenever a word is deleted. And third, a debuff icon to show when you can or can't delete words from your sentences. The first step in the process was moving over to Blender to create a 3D shield-like mesh. Since Write Warz is a 2D game, not the entire mesh needs to be shown, but it still needs to have some depth to its edges. Then I moved over and UV'd the mesh to make sure that the shield texture that we used aligned correctly. Once I was happy with the mesh, I moved over to Unity and created a material for the shield. I found it easier to rotate the shader instead of rotate the mesh in the scene. Since each time a word is deleted from a sentence, the shield will get struck by lightning before moving on, I decided to add some static lightning to the shield. By using a curved rectangle and distorting its UVs, it allowed me to add some much needed flair to the effect. Now that I'm happy with the mesh inside the engine, what happens when a player uses the backspace key? When a word is deleted, a lightning bolt will come down and strike the shield, moving it to the next player. Using Unity's shader graph and a texture sheet for the lightning bolt, I decided to create a particle image for the lightning. That way, I could trigger it whenever a word is deleted, and also add a couple more effects on top of the lightning to be able to add more of an impactful lightning strike on top of the shield. By distorting the shader's UVs, I can add more of a jitter effect to lightning. Using Unity's UI particle image system, it allows me to layer effects on top of each other. That way, I don't have to worry about layering throughout all the canvas layers. The key to the lightning was to make it quick and snappy. That way, when it strikes your shield, it feels impactful and also feels like enough force to move it across your screen. To demonstrate the delete button being disabled, I needed a fitting debug icon positioned above the writing area. This will display the abbreviation DEL with a red slash through it, otherwise a green checkmark. For both these symbols, I decided to create shaders inside Unity's shader graph. By rotating and distorting rectangles UVs with polar coordinate nodes and adding a single float, I scaled each rectangle's height and synchronized the timing so they both create a circle and a slash. To enhance the impact, the same float drives a gradient node, causing the symbol to glow as it fills and transition to its default red color once complete. Now that the disabled symbol is complete, an enabled symbol is also needed to be able to showcase when you can delete words from your sentence. Again, this animation was created within shader graph, allowing me to distort the height of rectangles and also change the color over lifetime using a single float value. Both of these effects will be animated through code using a float value to tween over its lifetime. In addition, a text mesh pro object with the text DEL will be animated as well. Now that all the effects are created, it's time to start the implementation phase. First, the shield needs to bounce along a path. Second, a random value is created that selects the next player that will be covered by the shield. This value cannot repeat until every player has been selected at least once. Third, the correct symbols need to be displayed whether you can or cannot delete words in your sentence. Using an array of positions, I defined a path for the shield to follow and animated its movement with DOTween. To determine whether the shield should bounce first to the left or to the right, I check whether the player's X position is greater than 0. If it is, it starts to the left, if not, it bounces to the right. Lastly, as the shield travels along the path, I detect when it nears each point and trigger a small sparks explosion to add extra flair to the effect. Now that I have the shield bouncing the way I want to, I want to make sure that each player goes at least one time before they get selected again. Thus I created two methods, both together, select a random number between 0 and the total player count, ensuring no repeats until every player has had a turn. This is handled by removing players from a list as they're chosen, then checking if the list is empty. If it is, the list resets to include all players again, otherwise it continues selecting from the remaining players. Lastly, by calling methods from another script, I determine whether each player can delete words based on a boolean that checks if they're protected by Sigrun shield. If they are, the enabled icon appears along with the message Sigrun's shield protects you, one word may be deleted. If not, the disabled icon is shown and a warning appears whenever backspace is pressed. Now completed, the effect bounces from one player to another randomly until every player is selected. Thank you for watching this devlog on Sigrun's new character ability. If you're interested in learning more about Write Warz, please check us out on Steam.